The Clown Prince of Crime has left scars on the life of Commissioner Jim Gordon that may very well never heal. But what is the true secret origin of their animosity? Well, let's hop into the pages of Joker issue number 5 and find out together, shall we? So then, in the previous issue, former Commissioner Gordon had hit a major wall in his international investigation hunting for the Joker. Jimbo had found himself at the center of a much bigger conspiracy, and he wasn't exactly sure which way was up anymore. That's why I find it quite interesting that issue 5, instead of moving forward, steps all the way back in time, complete with new art to illustrate that fact. We see a young Lieutenant Gordon not long into his Gotham City career. A group of police officers had been taken hostage under his watch, and Gordon very heroically rushed on in to try and save them himself when backup wouldn't come quick enough. Gordon would end up saving the cops' lives, but not before tackling one of the perps through a window, injuring him and giving him perfect cause to try and sue him and the Gotham City Police Department. This will actually be the beginning of a major theme that will run all throughout this story, and that is that Jim, despite being a good man and a good cop in a bad city, oftentimes makes pretty bad, brash choices. If nothing else, the goon that Jim apprehended sung like a canary to District Attorney Harvey Dent pre-Two-Face transformation. Apparently, there's a massive Falcone crime deal going down at Mazzucchelli Towers. I get it, as in Mazzucchelli, the artist for year 1, the time frame that this story very clearly takes place in. And while Gordon is supposed to have a big day off with his family, he vows to help Harvey take down the Falcones anyway because, well, once Jim sinks his teeth into something, it's impossible for him to let go. In fact, we see just how much Jim has a problem letting go and leaving work at work when we actually get to sit in on one of his couple counseling sessions with his original wife, Barbara. I like they don't paint Barbara as your typical ball-busting wife. In fact, she tries very hard to understand. She knows her husband has a hard job and tries to make as many concessions as she can, but it's really hard to do when one half of your relationship is just completely checked out thinking about other things. What other things might be so important, you might be wondering? Well, that would be the fate of the Joker. You see, this is not long after the Joker was first arrested for famously trying to poison the Gotham reservoir. He pled insane and as such is getting carted off to Arkham Asylum. Jim positively hates the idea because he thinks the security isn't going to be enough to hold this special new breed of criminal, and he might very well be right. The most high-tech and secure wing of the hospital actually belongs to one of the Samson brothers, those Texas cannibals that we saw before referenced. Gordon wants the Joker locked up there, but Jeremiah Arkham is cagey about the whole thing. Apparently, the Samson family paid a pretty penny to make sure that their family member had only the best and exclusive care. Naturally, Gordon doesn't much care about all the kickbacks that Jeremiah Arkham is getting right now to house a cannibal, and as such, he decides to call the Samson brother himself directly. This guy is creepy as all hell, even by Gotham standards, and goes out of his way to force Gordon into painstakingly reciting all the horrible crimes that the Joker committed and why, before eventually just shutting him down anyway. Gordon is so thoroughly convinced it's only a matter of time before the Joker attempts to escape that he vows to stay there all night if he has to before he's eventually relieved by other officers. And the Joker himself positively loves having this much power over Jim and flaunts it completely. In fact, we get quite possibly one of my favorite Joker monologues in a very long time. He says maybe the reason that Gordon is so obsessed with the Joker is that he's unlike any other criminal he's ever seen before. After all, Joker can see himself in the mobster, the pusher, the stick-up man. They're still human, but in the Joker, there's nothing human staring back at Jim at all. Only the promise of more and more evil. Jim actually ends up staying there the whole night, making sure the Joker doesn't leave his cell. He does for a little bit, but is eventually brought right back. It's only after Gordon leaves does he realize that he was expected at several places the night before. The big raid that Harvey was leading ended up being a trap, and several cops got cut down by mobster gunfire. Harvey is furious, as you might expect, but as bad as that is, it's what happened at home that's even worse. Apparently his wife had waited up for him so they could celebrate their anniversary, which Jim naturally forgot. And it's on that very sad and dour note the comic comes to a close. And so that was Joker issue number 5, everybody, and I must admit it's an interesting little done-in-one that does a good job breaking up the bigger Joker storyline. In fact, you could probably read this one even if you weren't reading the main Joker book, as it works on its own as a self-contained story. We get to see Jim Gordon really cast in the role of Captain Ahab and the Joker as his great white pale whale, but with a rather interesting twist. This story seems to ask the reader to question Gordon's own motives. Is the Joker really responsible for all the horrible stuff that's happening happened in Jim's life? Is he just able to play him like this fiddle, like the master criminal he is? Or is Gordon impulsive and prone to bad decision-making all on his own? The book doesn't really have an answer, and it kind of leaves it open-ended for the reader to decide for themselves. Honestly, I think it's a little of both at the end of the day. The Punchline backup is good too. I actually enjoyed getting to see Harper Row meet her deadbeat father in prison and ask him for help. That's a really interesting relationship they have that no other hero in DC currently has. Overall, I think I feel comfortable giving this one another 8 out of 10. This is solid stuff and scratches that film noir detective story itch that not a lot of comics are these days. Hey there everyone, Cape Joel again, and I want to thank you so much for watching to the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you see, be sure to like, subscribe, comment. It really helps drive engagement and helps me out too. Also, if you are a patron, which you can become for as little as $1 a month, you will get exclusive content that no one else can ever see, and you'll get to see the Comic Multiverse podcast before anyone else too. You can check out all this and more down in the description. And until next time everyone, this has been Cape Joel, and I'll see you all next time. Cheers.